Hello, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. I love what I do. It is so much fun. I don't make any money, but by golly, I love doing this. It's so much fun, and it's especially fun when I get to talk to somebody that I've listened to or watched in my younger years, especially as a kid, and listening to them on the radio or seeing them on TV or on the movie screen. And gosh, who doesn't know who Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz were in the soundtrack and in the film strips of our youth, and still today on TV on who knows how many different stations are playing the I Love Lucy show and the Lucille Ball show and all those others. And it, of course, we know a lot, or we feel like we know a lot about Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. But one thing we do know is they had two kids, very talented kids who are still alive and still doing things. And I had the privilege of being able to chat with Lucie Arnaz. Wow. 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 So much fun. Such a gracious lady. Very easy to talk to. I think you're going to want to just pour yourself a nice non-alcoholic drink and sit back and watch this because it was such a fun interview. We talked about everything, especially the jazz singer with Neil Diamond. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun talking about that. But anyway, please share this with your friends. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. And also, like it so that we can get that little count on there too. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out a lot. And so share it with your friends, that especially if they love classic TV and want to hear some stories. It's all wonderful. And Lucy, by the way, is still singing. She's still recording. She's doing shows around the country. So check out her website and be sure to see where she's going to be performing near you. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews with the lovely and talented Lucie Arnaz. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hi.
How you doing, Lucy?
I'm good. Look at a great backdrop you made.
Yeah, well, I got all these pretty women looking over my shoulders. Look at
That's
that.
so nice. Thank you. I love that.
Well, good. I can send it to you so you can use it in the future if you like.
I would love that.
I'll
Thank you. Thank you,
send it to you.
Randy.
Where are you clicking in from?
Palm Springs, California, where I live.
All right. All right. I deal with one or two publicists there. Do you know Bob Merlis by any chance?
I don't have a publicist. I don't know publicists. I don't know. No, but no.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. He's in the area there somewhere. And then
Okay.
Paul McCartney's guitar player there, Brian Ray, lives somewhere over in there too. I interviewed
Probably up in Joshua Tree or someplace really cool musician like.
Yeah. Is that where you push them all to? And then
Coachella. Joshua Tree, places like that. That's like where the cool guys live.
Oh, wow. Wow. A little haze hanging over the area.
Yes. Yes.
So I bet it's pretty hot there right now, huh?
It's getting there. It's not terrible yet. We still got a ways to go. So the people who live here year round, we look at 105 as like, it's cool.
Spring, yeah.
Nice. No problem, babe. When it gets to 120, it's going to get to 120 and then we'll start bitching,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I grew up in Phoenix, so that's, I know of what you speak of there. So,
yeah.
But, well, man, Lucy, this is such a thrill for me. I appreciate so much you taking the time, and I hope I don't ask too many dumb questions, but I want to, focus on your career and especially the music and acting part, because you've been in some things I've enjoyed, and your music I enjoy, and I love what you're doing to preserve your parents' legacy too. So we could touch on all that. I won't get to anywhere near all the questions I could possibly ask you, so I'll try to keep it as painless as possible. So
you go ahead. I've got the time, so let's chat.
All right. Well, I just kind of hit you from one side here. I knew you grew up in show business, and obviously acting was kind of a natural for you. But on the music side, tell me about your musical influences, because I know you do Broadway. I know your parents were into their music, and what influenced you growing up?
A lot of things, a lot of various things, which is why my taste in choosing music now for my shows is so very eclectic because first of all, my father was a musician and a singer, band
Mhm,
leader, guitar player. We always had music when he was around.
mhm,
And listening to him as a young kid was just such magic to have a dad that could sing to you, play
yeah,
guitar next to your bed at night.
I bet.
And then when my parents were divorced, my mother married a guy named Gary Morton, who was a
Mhm,
stand-up comic who opened for people like Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and blah. So he had a great record collection. He loved music.
mhm,
And then I would listen to all the top 40 stuff that my age group was listening to on, KHJ, KFWB, whatever. Top
mhm.
40 Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Chad and Jeremy, all of whatever. The
Mhm.
Monkees, I don't know,
Hey,
whatever was the top. And my brother had Dino, Desi, and Billy. They had a
yep,
rock group when he was
yep,
like
I remember
11.
them. Yeah,
So
yeah, I
music was
remember
was
them.
everywhere. And but I listened to all the greats, the standards through Gary's music, and I listened to my father's and had that Latin beat thing going on and the
Mhm,
top 40. And then I kind of just fell in love with musicals as a kid,
mhm.
and I had all the albums, and I would lip sync to Broadway show cast albums in my backyard. And that's kind of where I ended up. I figured my parents had production and television. My brother had rock and roll.
The
I'm
band.
going to the theater. So I kind of veered off and went into the musicals that way. But then years later, I started to put a nightclub act together. It's already been about 35 years I've been doing that.
Mhm.
And so I was inspired to do it after my dad passed away. And I started to listen to his big band recordings, which I had really never heard before. And I just thought, man, that's where I want to be. I want to be in front of a band that great with arrangements that fantastic and see if I can be that girl singer, like
Yeah.
he used to have. That's how it happened. So I've been influenced by pretty much everybody.
But, I mean, to see all of that too, I mean, a lot of people don't realize just how big I mean, well, gosh, Tony Bennett was doing it. His daughter was, following in his footsteps. Rod Stewart was doing the Great
Hmm.
American Songbook, all that. I mean, there's still
Yeah.
such a deep love for that genre, and to me, I'm a rocker by nature, but to me, I love all the genres because they
Yeah.
blend in so well, and
Yeah, I love country music too. I love listening to country music. When I was a kid, I used to think that country music was dumb. It was like because it was different when I was much younger. It seemed to be all sort of like my dog died and I'm sad. And then all of a sudden we started getting like country people know how to talk about life and love and
Mhm,
loss and happiness and better than
mhm.
most of us.
Yep.
And it's like a completely different thing now. It's very cool, and I love country, things. So I'm influenced by that too, which is
Mhm.
weird. But
Yep. Well, same here growing up, I mean, I was born here in the South, grew up in Phoenix, moved back here 10 years ago, but, country, the real twangy stuff I didn't like when I was a kid, but I have ever since Ken Burns did his series on it, I have such a deep appreciation for it. I mean, it started right in practically in my backyard here in Seville,
sure, yeah,
but so I have an appreciation for it. Of course, Elvis doing it too was, just magic,
right.
but, so I love up through probably, I don't know, I don't want to get into naming names, but country's changing, but I do like a lot of it, even the new stuff coming out. So what gets your attention today? What do you listen outside of the genre and nightclub type songs? And
Oh,
if so,
sure.
what gets your attention now?
It's always about lyrics. To me, it's stories. Whoever's singing it, if they've got a good story to tell me, that's what I listen to. Because melodies are melodies. There's only 88, you know, keys,
Right.
and it's constantly amazing to me how many beautiful songs can be made with
Yep.
such a short instrument.
Yep.
But I don't know. I spin the dial. I push around all the time. I still listen to a lot of Broadway, but I listen to what everybody else is listening to. And if I get caught on great lyrics, but if I'm listening to Taylor Swift or if I'm listening to Lady Gaga or if I'm listening to rhythm, R&B people, it's still about catching my attention with what are you saying?
Right. Right.
And I don't really like hard I've never even when I was younger, I didn't like the hard electric sound.
Mhm.
Really loud, really pounding. To
Right.
me, it always hurt my ears.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go in for that. pretty much everything else, except I'm not a huge classical music fan, opera,
Right.
not so much. But anything else, I spin the dial and listen to it all.
Who do you think two-part question, who do you think is the best lyricist of any genre, and who do
Mm.
you think is the most underappreciated lyricist?
Boy, is that a hard question. I hate bests and, favorites and top 10 one. That's a really hard question, and it kinda depends on the mood I'm in.
I get
I
that.
mean, the
Same
first
here.
names that come to my mind, of course, are people like Stephen Sondheim, only
Yeah.
because I can't believe what he writes. If you
Mhm.
really study what he writes, it's so deep and it's just off the charts. David Zippel, I'm talking
Mhm.
Broadway people here, but
Right, right.
they tell stories and they have inner rhymes and alliterations with lyrics that you just go, "How do they do that?" Ira Gershwin, I mean, yeah, the Gershwins,
Mhm.
um, there's too many to name really,
Gotcha.
and today, I mean, I can't pretend that I know who all the great lyricists are today. I don't know who writes half the songs I listen to. I don't
Yes.
know who's singing half the songs I listen.
Or are they
I
really
d
singing
I
the
don't. Sometimes I go, "Oh, that's really great. Who was that?" And boom, it's gone. I go, "I don't know who that was," but, remember when I was a kid, it was so obvious because there was always somebody like Casey Kasem or somebody who would jump on and go, "And that was so and so
Yep.
singing blah, blah, blah." They don't do
And
that
fill in
anymore.
the background to it, you know?
Yeah, I don't like that. I like when they used to tell me who it was.
Yeah. Well, you've performed and worked with a lot of people and singing and I mean, gosh, just I mean, going way back in early in your career and such, people that are probably no longer around now, who comes to mind when you think back, when you first started performing live, singing,
Yeah.
and getting to work with some of the people you did, who comes to mind, and what's your most favorite story about them and working with them?
Well, when I was like 12 years old, I went to see Wayne Newton
Ah, yeah.
and I was totally blown away. That's when I think I got my first taste of thinking, wow, I wish I could do that. He was just such an amazing entertainer. This is when
Mhm.
he was really, really young too,
Really
and he
young.
was with his brother Jerry, and
Yeah.
and he put on like a 2.5 hour show, and he played 16 different instruments, and
Mhm.
I was just totally blown away by him. And then I had the opportunity to actually meet him. He was on my mother's show. Then I got a little older, and he invited me to do a craft music hall special with him, and I got to sing with him. I got to make a record with Wayne Newton, called "The Whole State of Alabama,"
Mhm.
which was written by Bobby Russell, who
Mhm.
wrote Little Green Apples.
Yep.
And so that was kind of cool to meet your idol when you were a little kid, and then actually end up singing with him. Then on the Here's Lucy show, I was blessed because every season we would have 8 or 9 full-fledged musical production things that we would do, depending on what guest stars they could get. So here I'm singing with Frankie Avalon, we were
Yeah.
doing a Sonny and Cher impression together.
Mhm.
I was singing with John Davidson. I was Liberace, we did
Yep, yep.
talk about crazy people who are gone, but Sammy Davis Jr., I was very, very, very fortunate to be brought up through the ranks and get a chance to watch these people work. And then, of course, I got a chance to do a movie with Neil Diamond
I was
and
gonna
the
ask you
jazz
about that.
singers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wasn't singing in that film, which was one of my
Yeah.
biggest mistakes ever because the movie got wah, wah reviews, except the people really loved it, but the critics weren't so sure.
Yeah.
But the album to that went like triple platinum.
Mhm.
And Neil had asked me, "Why don't we sing on this? Well, you should sing with me. I write a song for us to sing." And I was such an idiot that I went, "No, no, my character wouldn't sing. She's just like your manager. She doesn't just break into song. I mean, that's not the kind of musical this is." I was, so true to whatever. And he went, "Oh, well, okay. What an idiot. I could have been singing with Neil Diamond." But anyway, you know, whatever.
How was he to work with? I mean, because I know he's predominantly a singer, and I mean, Hot August Night was one of my all-time favorite live albums, but that soundtrack,
Yeah.
golly, I mean,
Yeah.
some
He was a
amazing
doll.
music on.
He really was wonderful to work with. He was very easy, and he knew that he wasn't a great actor. any actor. It was the first time he'd ever acted, so he couldn't, throw his weight around. As a matter of fact, he was terrified, actually, which
Wow.
is why they went through so many screenwriters for the
Mm,
script, because he just kept saying, "Yeah, I can't do this. That scene, I know how to. That doesn't work." So instead of hiring a director who could say, "Yes, it does. Here's how you do it, Neil," they would go, "Oh, oh, oh," and they would run and change the scene.
mm,
Finally, they got rid of the first director, who was a lovely man, Sidney Furie, but he wasn't able to wrangle Neil Diamond.
yeah.
And he's playing opposite Sir Laurence Olivier, probably one of the world's greatest actors ever.
Not
Little to
not intimidating at all.
not intimidating at all, right? And then they got this wonderful director named Richard Fleischer, this dear, darling, wonderful guy who would answer Neil's questions. Neil would say, "No, no, no, I can't do this." And he'd go, "Sure, yes, you can. Here's how we're going to do it." And he would show him how to do it. Oh, oh, and Neil go, "Oh, oh, okay." All he wanted was somebody to direct him,
Yeah,
tell him
give
what
us
to
some
do.
guidance. Yeah.
And yeah, I loved watching him create a lot of that music, because it wasn't all written when we started. He was
Oh,
kind
I
kind
didn't
of
know that.
yeah, it was he was writing a lot of it as we went along, and sometimes just like on a lunch break, he'd just be sitting, on one of the sets playing the guitar and creating stuff. And I mean, I can remember very, very vividly sitting on the stage at the Pantages Theater the night before we were going to record the big scene where he sings "Coming to America."
Mhm.
And everybody was on a break, or they had left for the night, I can't remember. But I was sitting cross-legged on the stage, just kind of watching him, because, like, here I am with a private concert with Neil Diamond. And he was practicing. And he got to the middle of, "Coming to America," where it changes completely. If you know the song,
Mhm.
and it goes,
Yeah.
"My country, 'tis of thee,
Yep. It
sweet
just
land of liberty,
yeah.
of thee I sing." He started playing that, and he hadn't played it before. And he looked at me and he said, "Is that too corny? That's really corny, isn't it, to go into that?" And I said, "They're going to scream their heads off when you
Mhm.
do that." And that's exactly what happened. He left it in, and the next day, he puts it in the middle of the show, and I was sitting in the audience with Laurence Olivier, and he gets to that part, and if you remember, people just started
Yes.
screaming. It was
Yep.
so cool. So stuff like that is very memorable. He was a very nice guy.
Well, with that song, I didn't have this written down, but not getting political or anything, but I was working up in Northwest Arkansas in my telecom career and on the Walmart account there, and
Uh-huh.
W. Bush was coming to town and never seen a president. So my now ex-wife and I went to go catch him. He was touching down at the regional airport there. Well, here comes Air Force One touching down, pulls around in front of the oh gosh, the I can't remember. It's the chicken provider there, big name. I can't think of the name right now. But anyway,
Okay.
Air Force One's pulling up to that song. I mean,
They had an
and it's
outside
that
speaker?
yeah, yeah, they have it
Oh,
piped
wow.
into the hangar because we're
Wow.
corralled in there and for security reasons, all that. They're 2 hours early. That plane pulls up to that music, and I mean, the hair on my arm. Pee Wee Herman could have stepped out of that plane and wouldn't have been
Yes.
no less of a response, you know?
That was a pretty fabulous song. That deserved to be the big hit that it was.
I agree. I agree. Who haven't you worked with that you still wanna work with, especially in the music area?
Oh, my. Oh, in the music area?
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm at a place in my world right now where I'm gonna get to work with anybody else in the music area that is like somebody fabulous. I started to put a show together with Clint Holmes, who I think is one of the most talented people around, and he and I wanna do a show together, and I was putting 2 shows together at once, one with him and a new show for me, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh
So
god.
that kind of went out the window, and we haven't had a chance to regroup and do it again. I still would love to be able to do that. And there's a fantastic new singer out there called Ben Jones,
Mhm.
who, if you
I've
don't know
heard
who
of
he
him.
is, Google him, YouTube him. Love singing with him. Sam Harris is a friend, and we keep talking about
Oh,
doing a show together. As far as pairing up with women, geez, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of wonderful people who sing out there that, I don't know. That's a great question. I have to
I
start
could
thinking about that now.
I could see you with Michael Bublé.
Oh,
That would
he's
be
great. I
fun.
love his music. I love
Yeah,
some of the stuff he's chosen to sing. Yeah.
that would be fun to see. I think you guys could do
Yeah.
something really cool, and I think it'd
I'm
be
too old for Michael. He
oh,
wants
no,
younger
you're
he'll
not.
want those
No,
younger
not
chicks.
hey, I've heard your voice. It doesn't matter. The
The
age
voice has
difference.
gotten better over the years, but you know how the age talking to people.
Yeah,
I'll
but
sing with
it's
Dolly Parton.
hey, Melissa Manchester just did a video with her.
There you go.
Yeah.
I wrote a song a long time ago that was a parody of the Julio Iglesias, Willie Nelson tune, you know, all the girls that we
Yep.
loved
Yep.
before. Hated that song. I hated that song so much when I heard it. It was such a male chauvinistic, you know, womanizing. Jokingly, I used to say to people, "Oh, sure, sure, sure. No, it's fine. It's just about the women who were a part of the revolving door of these two gentlemen's love lives." And the one line in the middle that I hated the most was when they said why these affairs had to end. If you remember,
Mhm.
it wasn't that they had grown apart, you know, or his cheating heart or anything like that. It was the winds of change came and blew them out the door.
Very, very sexist. Yeah,
And
not
I
good.
just went, "Oh, that's what it is. The darn wind keeps doing it.
Blame it on the wind.
Blame it on the wind." So I wrote a parody called "To All the Boys That I Loved Once" for Dolly Parton and Charo to sing. And I play both parts when I sing it, so it's kind of fun. Someday you'll catch me do that somewhere.
Have you made a video of it?
I've never made a video, no.
Oh, you ought to. You ought to. That's the rage now. I've seen
It
it on
might be on it might be on one of my CDs, I forget. It might be on, I think it is actually. I think it's on my Nico Feinstein's at the Nico CD because it was
oh,
live, and I
okay, I
think I
missed
did
that.
that with the whole show about love, and I'm pretty sure I may have done it.
If you do the video of it, I bet you it goes viral. Because right now, all these relationship people are doing these things now where they, there's this one guy especially puts on a wig like he's talking with him, the
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
and they just kind of go back and forth. You could do that, and
Yeah, sure.
it would go viral. I'm
I'll
sure.
find the time to do that.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
you ought
gonna
to
find the time to
just
do
do
that.
it with Dolly. Why
I'll
not?
just do it. I
She can
actually
loan you a
sent the
wig.
recording to her. I sent the recording to her many, 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 many years ago when I actually made it, and she debated putting it on her Christmas special because we had the same manager at the time, and then it didn't happen, so it was mostly just for fun that I could just do for fun.
I'm within earshot of her amusement park here. I can when the
Dollywood.
Bollywood, I hear the train whistle blowing all the time and
Yeah.
fireworks show at the end of the night. So it's
Oh,
all
gee.
is oh, somebody wanted me to ask you a question that I had when I announced that I was going to get to talk with you today. A friend of mine, interviewer Mary Lee Martinez, she wanted me to ask you about you being in there playing our song with Robert Klein, which, if I remember correctly, in one of the interviews I saw you with, you'd actually left that show to go be in the
With
jazz singer,
Neil.
right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes, to do the jazz singer. I did,
yeah.
yeah.
So, talk, she would love to hear you talk about that play, that Broadway show.
Well, that was life-changing, obviously, because it was my first Broadway show ever,
Mhm.
and again, how lucky can you get? You know, the first real big movie I ever did was with Laurence Olivier and Neil Diamond, and the first Broadway show was written by Neil Simon and music by Marvin Hamlisch and Carol Bayer Sager. So,
Mhm.
right out of the box, I was gifted with this magic stuff, and all you had to do was just show up and say the words and the music and
Mhm.
don't trip over the furniture. It was a spectacular opportunity. I loved working with all those people, and Robert Klein is hilarious. I mean, he's completely off the charts funny.
Mhm.
We could have rehearsed and finished rehearsing that show about a week earlier if Robert hadn't been in it because we spent half the day laughing at all of his takes on things. And then, of course, Neil Simon would have his little kibitzing, and then Marvin, who you may not know, but is probably was one of the funniest people ever.
I didn't know
So
that.
it was thrilling, and I stayed there a year and a half, and I should have stayed longer. You know how it is. People say, "Oh, you know, you've done all you can do, and you've been here a year and a half, and now they want you to do this big movie," and so your people talk you into the movie, which I'm glad I did. And I would have come back and, you know, gone back into the show for a little while because Robert had left and Tony Roberts was in the
Mhm.
show
Mhm.
after a while, and I had a great time working with him. But I met Larry Luckenbill,
Mhm.
while I was in there playing our song, my husband. And then I did the jazz singer, and then we got married, and I had a baby, and I couldn't go back. I was like, "Oh, I can't go back now." I got pregnant. So, yeah, it's a great memory. I can't the show's never been revived on Broadway, which is
That's odd.
strange and weird. Yeah, it's
Mm.
odd. But, they couldn't compete with what we did, that's all.
Well, there you
That's all.
go. There you go. I believe that. What, from the standpoint of the entertainment industry overall, I mean, you've watched a lot of changes. You watched history being made in your upbringing. You got to
Yeah,
participate in a lot of it.
right.
What what are your thoughts about the entertainment industry today? I know from my perspective, I'm a little bit younger than you, so I feel like you'd be like a big sister to me. And so I feel like I'm kind of right there with you to be able to see what was going on, at least as a fan looking in.
Mhm.
And I hate to sound like one of these old farts that go, back in my day, we had real entertainment. But, honestly, back in our day, we had real entertainment, I think. Things were genuinely funny. I can go back and watch any of those old shows, your parents as any of the other stuff, and just
Yeah.
still love it today. What is it about that entertainment that still has the legs? And what are your thoughts about where entertainment is today?
Well, I do like what I watch now. I don't watch a lot of network television. I think a lot of people don't.
Right.
Like I don't say, "Oh, it's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. This is on." I have no idea what's on any night of the week at what time. Not a clue. I watch things that stream. That's
Mhm.
what I do, and I can't wait to get on a new one that I gotta binge watch. So, I don't complain about what's out there because there's really a lot of really good stuff like that. Just
Mhm.
tons of great stuff being done. And,
What
as
are you
far
binge watching now?
we're finishing Billions, which was,
Oh,
I think,
yeah,
a
yeah,
couple of
yeah.
years ago, but I just tripped over it recently. But I mean,
Missed
Ted
the last
Lasso,
season so far.
it's
So,
still
what
yeah, I'm almost to the last season. Ted Lasso. Now there was I suppose it's on who knows, what was it on, like, regular network or was it some
I
streaming? I
I
don't even know.
I don't know, I've heard people
You
talk about
find
I
them.
haven't
I go
started.
I hear about it and I go on my phone and I go, "Where can I watch this?" And then I put it on that. That's all I
Mhm,
know. But I laugh my head off. I love that show. And I still go back and watch, like, Friends is one of the funniest shows I think ever out there.
mhm, mhm,
And once in a while, I go back and watch the real old episodic of anything that was from the '60s or the '70s or whatever.
mhm.
But I gravitate more towards crime drama and, hospital dramas. I watched all of Grey's Anatomy. I watched all that's I go sort of to that and things that have been cast really well. But I spend a lot of time, watching House of Cards, watching Outlander. Well, I
Mhm.
can't even remember all the things we've seen, especially with the pandemic.
I
Holy
just
cow.
finished Suits. Did you watch Suits?
Suits, I watched a lot of Suits.
Love that one. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it was not bad. I got a little lost after a while, but, there's a lot of good stuff out there. I think I don't know who's concentrating on making these things happen. Will and Grace was very funny for a very long time.
Mhm.
Um, Frasier, you know, and what? Jerry Seinfeld was hilarious, still is hilarious.
Mhm.
And I watch Seinfeld's little offshoot, comics and cars, getting
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah, yeah.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I loved watching Letterman interview people,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
on Guest Needs No Introduction. I love that. So I kind of instead of watching network television, I go down the rabbit hole on YouTube. You know what
Ah,
I mean? Like,
yeah.
I could get lost there with old stuff that somehow somebody found. I find that fascinating, and I don't have a lot of time,
Yeah,
to watch stuff, and my schedule is always changing. I don't have a 9 to 5 job where I'm always know where I'm gonna be.
right,
Sometimes I work late at night, sometimes I'm up early in the morning. Never know which days I'm gonna have 5 minutes to do anything.
right.
So, I can't get I can't get hooked on something on network that I have to be at a certain place at a certain time to watch. That's why this streaming thing is pretty brilliant, actually.
It
But I
really
mean, a lot of the big studios that are all buying each other up, and pretty soon there's gonna be like one guy owning everything.
yeah.
Hilarious. And having worked with one of the big studios, who shall remain nameless, but you know that it's just dealing with this huge bureaucratic system now. You don't know the guy or the lady who used to run network
Mm.
something. You can't pick up the phone and call anybody. They don't even know who's in charge anymore. I would call to go, who do I call about this stuff? Well, I really don't know. It's bizarre. And there's the thing about like the writing rooms now, in many cases, are it's 26 people in there, coming up with ideas for a show. The time that I was on Will and Grace, and I thought that was great fun. They did a little tribute to I Love Lucy and asked me to go on for one day and do the speed her up a little lady. So I did. It was fun. But I was amazed at the way they shoot the show. They're there for on taping days. They're there for maybe 8, 10 hours. They keep this audience forever. They went through 2 audiences because they wore the first one out. And and they don't really memorize their lines per se. They kinda know it a little bit, but they're still studying it before they go on, and then the producers/writers are all running in after a take and going, "I have an idea, I have an idea. Why don't you try this?"
Mhm.
That is so foreign to me. I can't even imagine us ever doing it that way. It seems strange. Anyway, it's not the way I remember stuff being created, and,
Yeah.
so I don't know, but I'm quite out of the loop. So to hear me talk about it is sort of silly. I don't know what's going on there anymore, and I don't care.
Well, I too like the streaming thing. I go in phases, I'll turn on the TV, and then my TV in my office will stay off for weeks at a time, and then I'll binge. I'm wrapping up Black Sails right now, which is gory, but, and I don't typically like that. But one thing I
Uh-huh.
do miss, though, from back when we were kids, is
Mhm.
that night that we had to be home to watch the show. There was something about having to get there, having to
Mhm.
sit right in front of I mean, it was magical. Whether it was I Love Lucy or Batman or F Troop,
Mhm.
I didn't
Mhm.
care. To be able to sit right in front of that TV and just lose yourself in that for
Yeah.
that period of time,
Our kids, our grandchildren have no idea what I'm talking about. When I say I used to have to get up to turn the channel, like I had to walk across the room and go, "Wah." Remember the little you don't remember, but the remote controls were tiny little square things that you could hold in your hand, and they had 2 buttons, volume
yeah,
and channel, and it sounded like one of those frog things, click, 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 click.
well, even VCRs. Used to
VCRs, yes, yes.
used to, they had corded remotes. Do you remember that? I mean, that run the cord.
Sure.
Who would want one of those? But
Yeah, yeah. But I still feel a little bit the same way when I'm anxious at the end of my day, had a big busy day, and I'm finally finished cooking dinner and putting the dishes away or whatever. And then I go, good, I get to sit down and watch the next episode of whatever I'm binging. I'm
mhm,
happy that it's there and I can turn on the TV and I can see it. But I do remember like when I was watching Outlander or Ted Lasso or any of those things, and you catch up to they've been dropped. They're going to drop a
right.
show on Thursday and then another one drops. I could go away for 3 weeks and come back and, oh, goody, there's 3 of them I could
Catch
watch.
them all, yeah,
But otherwise, it's like, oh, it's Thursday. And so that's kind of still there,
yeah.
if you're watching one of those things that they drop them every week. But,
But you don't have the cliffhangers like like Who Shot JR? That was
oh,
just
yeah, we do. I think we do. They're just part of the show now. They're
no,
just
yeah, true, true.
like, when I'm watching this Billions show, it just keeps changing. Like, every single episode, you go, "Oh, okay, that's what's go oh, no, now it's gonna go." And I love to be, manipulated like that with television.
So on the business end, I know you're managing your parents' legacy. What are some of the challenges you run into in because I know with images and copyright and all those kinds of things, it gets
Yeah.
very murky, and with technology, things get kind of muddy. What are some of the challenges you face in managing your parents' legacy?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to clarify that never in my life did I decide that this is a business I wanted to be in. Your parents died, they were famous, somebody has to watch over what happens to their images. A hello, it
Right,
begins it's me. And I could be it's Desi and I. It's my brother and I, but
right,
somebody has to be on the letterhead and that where the phone number goes to, right?
right,
So
right.
it's me. And in the beginning, it was just making sure that things weren't pirated. What? They just put her face on, or they're using I Love Lucy. And we don't own I Love Lucy. Let me clarify that, please.
Right, right,
Haven't owned, they sold it in 1957 to CBS. So
right,
we have never owned I Love Lucy since then. All that we control are the rights to my mother's and my father's images in regular life and also on the I Love Lucy show. So if somebody wants to make a mug with one of those pictures of her from I Love Lucy on it, then they have to get permission and possibly we negotiate fees and things like that.
right.
But when the beginning, things were being brought to my attention or flopped on my desk, and I would have to decide what to do about it. And it became really expensive to keep calling lawyers and saying, cease and desist, blah, 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 blah. So I said, this is actually a business, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like something you have to deal with on a daily basis. So we hired somebody to be a licensing, director. And then we, became partners with CBS because they own half and we own our portion.
Mhm.
And for years now, it's been 33, 5 years since my parents passed that those approvals have to come to us as well as CBS if they want to make something. And during that time, I think we've had a really good time with it. We've created some fun merchandise and done everything from apparel to slot machines, and
Right.
it's been fun. I think I'm at the end of it right now. I think I'm done with the making tchotchkes for I Love Lucy. Um, I'm not sure why it matters anymore. Not done with allowing stories to be told or taking some of the actual archives that I still have left in my house. Like we're putting out a book next fall, of the love letters that my mother and my father wrote to each other during the 40s that I still have. And I've had them for years and years and years and years. And I never have known quite exactly what to do with them. I figured, well, they'll go to the Smithsonian one day or to, Library of Congress with all their scrapbooks, which I did give. But then I thought, you know what? This would make a really sweet thing to hold in your hand and read because it was handwritten. So they can make beautiful digital copies now of each page, and some are multiple pages. And
Mhm,
then I am adding commentary about some of the things they talked about that people might not even know what that is or who that is or what that was referring to. And
mhm.
it's actually turning out to be a lovely book, and it has nothing to do with I Love Lucy. It's
How
just
fun.
them. And we're republishing my father's autobiography, a book by Desi
Oh,
Arnaz, which has been out of print for years. And then when the movie was made a couple of years ago, being the Ricardos
right.
movie, Amazon bought the rights to those two autobiographies, my mother's and my dad's, but they never re-released my father's into print. They just did an audiobook of it, which
Mm.
was great. But a
Mhm.
lot of people are saying, why can't I get your dad's book? Where is this book? So Running Press, which is a wonderful organization that we've done several books with, offered to, he said, are you kidding? Well, of course we'll put that out. So that's exciting, and put his book back out
Very cool.
again with some new stuff in it. Like there are archives I have of my dad's that were writings he put together for a possible second book, but he never got to use because he passed
Oh.
away.
Mm.
And other little things that I can make it sort of more tantalizing, and it's not just the old book, it's the old book plus.
Plus, yeah.
So I'm doing stuff like that now. My daughter and I, Kate Luckenbill, uh, she helps and is a creative consultant on in Desilu too, and she's got some wonderful ideas of how to use really the legacy of laughter and the healing power of laughter, and how we can do things together with that to help people. Because for decades I've been getting wonderful letters from people around the world saying, if it wasn't for that show, if it wasn't for laughing, I would never have gotten through this terrible time in my life. Or, believe it or not, hundreds of letters of the saddest things in the world. You can't imagine that, but I was going to kill myself. I really was. And then I walked into the living room and your mother's show was on, and I laughed my head off. And I thought, I can laugh. And it stopped.
That's another book, Lucy. I would
It
do.
is. Oh, no, it's definitely part of a book that I will hopefully write at some point. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to say, what's the bigger picture? Not, it's fine to make memorabilia, and there's tons of people out there who like to buy it, and that's just great. It put my kids through college. Thank you very much, each and every one of you. But there's more. There's more to
Yeah,
be said and done, and so we're searching for that. Like a Lucy experience, a wonderful walk through their lives and how they got
that would be
where
cool.
where they got, how they
Mhm.
got there. It could be fun.
Is there any Has there been any discussion about how AI is going to impact all
Oh
this?
god, I'm
Yeah,
so scared of AI.
me
I
too.
don't like it.
I don't
I mean,
either.
I'm probably old, really old-fashioned, and in 20 years, we'll all find out that it's totally fine and big, big help, but right now, it scares me. I don't like stuff which I don't know if it's real or not, because the way they're
Mhm.
using it in some respects is very scary,
Yeah,
and, people will believe pretty much anything these days, and you gotta be really careful where you get your information from.
that's
So,
right.
we're protecting voices and faces and all the things you can protect now with the other technology,
Right,
where you slap a code on that. So if anybody tries to steal it to put it onto this, you can say, can't do
right,
that.
right.
And that's what you have to do. You can't fight them. You can't stop it, but you can try to protect yourself from it in whatever ways is possible. I mean, listen, technology is magnificent. What would we do without GPS? I couldn't get half the fun out of life knowing I can get home if I get lost.
That's right.
I love what we can do with our computers, with our phones, carry all of our
We can
pictures
do
with it.
this, you
We
know?
can do this. I mean, it's great. It really is. I got to walk very carefully through that. And I do have to try to protect their images as
Yeah,
far as that's concerned
I agree.
and teach my kids how to do that. My son Joe just graduated from Berkeley music school in Boston, and he's a sound engineer and a music producer and a guitar player and a teacher and all this other stuff. He was on the dean's list every semester. He's now got a master's degree, and he's going to go work in a big studio and do all this. Yeah, except now they have AI. And now a lot of the jobs that were open to people who could create music and do all, they just punch a button and go, we want this kind of a tune with that kind of a beat. And on every 16th beat, it's going to have a cymbal crash and a thing. And it's a song about this. Bum, written, done, next. That's terrifying. So
Very
he has to navigate his way through that now, but he's brilliant. And if anybody can figure out how to do it, he can. So
good deal.
do what you do. It's there
You
for a reason. I don't know.
you mentioned the movies, being the Ricardos and then, of course, the Lucy and Desi. How do you I know you and your brother were what, executive producers on the Ricardo one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How did you feel about both movies? Either one. Were you happy with it? Or
Which both? You mean the documentary that just came out of Amy Poehler directing it? Or the one
yeah,
which one?
yeah, Lucy and Desi was the documentary, right?
That was a documentary that White Horse and Imagine Entertainment with,
Right,
Ron
right.
Howard's company
Mhm.
came to us and wanted to do, even though we had done a documentary in 1993, which won an Emmy and I'm very proud of, but it'd been 25 years or so. And
Sure.
that's quite a company, Ron
Yep,
Howard.
yeah.
And White Horse is quite respected. And when they said they would go after someone like Amy Poehler to direct it, I said, you know what? Be really cool to see somebody else's take on this. I opened
Yeah,
up every archive we had to them and said, go do it, do it. And I was so proud of what they did. It was beautiful,
very,
just a
very good.
beautiful documentary.
Yep.
And the being the Ricardos, it was a fun, interesting, well-made film. I had a good time watching it. I really did. It's a beautifully made film and beautifully acted.
Mhm,
The script is alternately true and total not true.
mhm,
I mean, Aaron Sorkin likes to tell the story that he likes to say. He likes to tell the story he likes to tell. And you
mhm.
can tell him 100 times, listen, that's not the way it was at all. Those people were friends. They did not argue like that. No, 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 no. That's not the way it was on the set. He goes, no, I know, but I need conflict. And so he just invents stuff. That bothered me because I know a lot of the families, like I'm the daughter of Lucy and Desi, they're the daughters of Bob and Madeline and, Vivian Vance's family or whatever. And they call me and they go, how would you let them? I said, I tried. I was supposed to have approval. I had approval of the writer and who played my mother and who played my father. And I did not have directorial approval. That was the actress's approval.
Mhm.
And at one point, that was to be Kate Blanchett, and then she didn't want to do the movie because she had directorial approval, and Aaron wanted to direct it, and he hadn't directed very many things, and she said no. And then we got Nicole, who was lovely and brilliant, and
Mhm.
I adore her. But I did not have approval over that. It turned into meaningful consultation, which
Mm.
sounded good enough to me at
Big
the
loophole,
time,
though. Yeah, yeah.
until I found out that that just means we'll listen to her, but we don't have to do anything she says.
They're gonna do what they're gonna do anyway.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It was a hair pulling out experience for about 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then the movie came out, and I called Aaron and I said, "You've made a beautiful film. It's a great film. It really is. It's well done." He knew that I knew that it wasn't true a lot of the places,
Yeah.
but it is a really entertaining film. So if you don't know the difference, meh, it can be great fun.
Yes.
Someday I'll write a book and I'll say what wasn't true about it.
Do it. Please do.
I
And
will. I will.
so what's up next for you, by the way? What
I'm still doing my shows.
Mhm.
And the next one I do is in New York at 54 Below for a week there again. I've
Alright.
taken this same show, which is called, it's the one that the Purple Room CD
Right.
you have behind you.
Yeah.
It's called I Got the Job, Songs from My Musical Past. And it's a retrospective of my life in the musical theater and
Oh,
a lot
cool.
of the stories and some of the material from many of the Broadway shows, off Broadway shows, earliest shows I ever did in my life. And I've been doing it since before the pandemic. Then we didn't do it. Then we came back and started rebooking it. I love this show. And I did it at 54 Below twice already. And I
Mhm.
thought, well, that's the end of that. I won't be going back to New York. And then they invited me to come back again this summer. And I thought, are you crazy? No, we sold out, but don't push your luck. But they thought, nope, you're going to sell out again. We know it. So they asked me for 5 nights. So people,
Please, bye.
don't leave egg on my face. If you're in the New York area, July 16th through July 20th, my show at 54 Below. They have 2 shows a night. Mine is at 7. You can go online at the 54below.org, I think, and get tickets. And then after that, I come back. I'm doing a show in Bay Harbor, Michigan. I'm at Catalina Jazz Club in October 22nd and 3rd. I'm at the Purple Room again, the 25th through the 27th. And I'm writing a new show, which will start after the first of the year. So that's basically what I'm doing, and helping my husband, who just put his autobiography was just
I
released.
heard that. I wanna talk to him.
Look, I'm
Yeah.
so proud.
I love it.
Anyway, he just released it, and he's been doing lots of press for it. It's on Amazon. It's the number 10 on the most wished for. It was number 25 on the new releases for 2 weeks, and up to number 10, and who knows where it is now. But it's at the Drama Bookstore in New York, and he's doing signings. And the guy is going to be 90 November 21st, and it took him 10 years to write this. And he's still sharp as a tack. He remembers everything. He's a great interview. You should talk to him.
I want to.
And
I will.
yeah.
We'll get yours
And
up
anyway,
first, and then if you're happy with what I do with this, then I'll approach him about talking with him too. So that would be
yeah.
fun.
But
A lot
that's
of
what I'm
fun.
doing. I'm helping him. I'm being a grandma. I'm helping my kids, Joe and my 2 grandchildren, move from Connecticut to here, to Palm Springs area,
Oh,
to
boy.
Coachella, actually. And just I'm enjoying my life so much right now. It's just like the best time. It's our 3rd act, if you will, and we are living the last bit of it here in the desert. And it was a good choice. I love it here. And I love going around the country and doing my shows, playing with my kids. So life is good.
Very good. Well, I hope you get booked somewhere near here so I can come see your show. And when the book
I'd
comes,
like to.
well,
Where
how
could,
big a how
the
big a
closest I
venues
was,
do you do?
well, theaters, and there aren't so many clubs left
Right.
around. They're like little itty bitty clubs, but I guess they can't afford me. But I was at the Smoot Theater, in
Mhm.
Virginia, but that's not that close to you. Um, yeah, nobody's ever called me from Tennessee yet. I'd love to go down there.
Or you could hit here, Chattanooga, Nashville, and
Chattanooga,
Memphis.
Nashville.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have the Bijou here. That's I
Yeah,
think
that'd be fun. It'd be
900
fun. I have
seats or
some
so.
good friends who write in Nashville, writers, who've come out of there,
Mhm.
and I think Neil lives there now, doesn't he? Does he still
I
live in Nashville?
Neil Diamond, I don't think I thought he
He
was up
did.
N New England somewhere now.
No, no, I think he has a house n I'll find out.
Um,
But
I
anyway, yeah,
I
so
I know I approached him to interview him a couple years ago, and that's before the news came out,
yeah, yeah, he's probably not gonna
but
do it now, bless his
yeah,
heart.
but, I
But
love
I'll work on that, Randy, I'll work on that just for you. Maybe I'll
uh,
come to a private concert.
hey, there's some nice little places here in Gatlinburg and in Pigeon
Yeah.
Forge right up the road here, but, well, Lucy, this is great. Please, when the book comes out of your parents' letters, can we talk again and
I would
when we do
love that. I
we'll
would
do
love
that. I'll
that.
shoot you a note on there. I'll shoot you this backdrop so you can have that. And wow,
Yeah!
what a lot of fun this was. It was a big
Thank
thrill
you,
and honor
Randy.
for me. And
For me too, I appreciate it. I really appreciate talking to you, it's been fun.
and if there's anything I can ever do to support, let me know and we'll set up one of these and make it happen. Okay.
Thank you very much,
All right.
and,
Thank you.
great summer to everyone. Be careful.
Likewise. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.